Never record. Eight to six, last benches. Never record. Now try to execute this. Now it is inserted. Now let me check. Now let me check. 12 record. That means this entire insert statement we have executed that. It will save it to the server. It will save to the server. You know control Z option. What is it? Control Z. Control Z in the laptops. Redo. Control Z. Undo. What is it? Undo. Last action. Last action. Now, for example, assume that by mistake we have entered this record in Dynamics. Okay. So, what exactly happens is we can roll back. Roll back. Nothing but control Z. Now, let us look at that. I'm just writing roll back. Writing roll back. Try to execute this. Now you will get that the rollback transition because there is no corresponding transition. Okay. What does it mean? By default, whenever you try to enter any action here, you save to the server. Okay. So to stop that, implicit transactions on. So what happens is, by default, it will be next. Look at this statement. Set implicit transactions on. I mentioned on. By default, it will be off. If it is off, what happens is, whatever you are trying to give in the screen is all the information directly in this database. Right? But now look at it. I'm executing this. Command successfully, nothing happened. Okay? Just it is done. Now I'm going to insert one more record. Before that, look at that. How many records are available in my data, which is 12 records. What is the last record? 1. Now Lavanya. Right? This is the 13th record. 13th record I have entered. Let's see how many records. 13th record. Here. Now what happens is this 13th record not saved in the database. Not saved in the database. How do you know that? Let's look at that. I am trying to roll back this. Command comes successfully. Now let's look at this. How many records? What is the roll back? And back with one step. Right? So what exactly happened? Coming to your example, vote by example. Okay. So we have entered 3 lines. When implicit transaction is off, that means we close the file. We always open the 3 lines. But here, this point, I switch on implicit transactions. Now what happens is, I enter 2 lines. Of course, I have only 1 line. After that, actually these 2 lines are not saved in the database. Not saved in the database. So here I mentioned roll back. So what is the last save point? This one. So you will see 3 lines. You will see 3 lines. Understood? Majority of the people will not understand this. Okay? I was the same with you as well. Right? Shall we read again? Shall we read we are doing implicit transactions on. Why? Because, for example, if I enter these two lines, which I don't need, by mistake we have option to roll back. We have option to roll back. Similar example in roll back. I always give the roll back example to be easy to understand. Okay. So when implicit transactions is off, whenever you execute this statement, it will directly save in the database. But when implicit transactions is on, it will not directly save. You have to tell the SQL server save this record in SQL. How do you tell that? For example, so look at that, there is no Lavanya record. Please observe, yes, please focus. I am executing statement is affected. Lavanya. Now this 13th record is saved in the database. Yes or no? No. It is not saved. I mentioned you that. It is not saved. So look at that. I am going to insert one more record. Madhura, right? Now, this 14th record also not saved. This 14th record also not saved. If you execute roll back, if you execute the roll back, how many records will you remove? These two records. Because they are not saved. Because not saved. Shall we try? Roll back. Okay, not saved. Right? Now, what I will do, I will execute this statement again. Now I want to save to the server. Okay? Just like install Excel or WordPad, you use Control S. What is Control S? You are saving that. But here we will use something called commit. What is that? Commit. Now you can see what I have written server that commit is saving all the records. Save all the records in the database. Clear? Save the records in database. Now you can see. I am executing this. Now 13, 14 records are saved in the database. How do you know that? If you roll back right now, what happens if I do roll back? It will not. First of all, you will get error. But still, 13 records are available or not? You can see 13, 14 records are available. I execute the rollback, right? But still, why 13, 14 records are available? Because we have committed. Understood this one? Then you will be okay. But you should know that you can use an option called rollback. Please understand. Set implicit transaction should be on to use the rollback. If I do set implicit transaction off, again by default it will be off. Now I am doing that off. Look at that. Off. Now let me insert one more record called so now implicit transaction is on or off? It is in off. I executed. What happened right now? It is saved into the database. how do you use that? What is the recommended way for you? There will be on or off. It will be on or off. I always use off because we want to change, we can use something called movie updates. Okay, we have a lot of options, right? So now there is a marks table, right? I want to delete the marks table. What we have used last time? What we have used last time to remove the table name or remove the table itself? Draw table marks. I'm not executing this. If I execute this, what happens is you have a marks table will be zero. What I will do? Delete table marks. Delete table marks. Should not use delete table. Delete just table. Okay. Now, 15 rows are affected. Now look at the marks table. Nothing around the marks table. Okay. So the reason is you have achieved this table. You have used this table. Then what is the difference between draw and delete? What is the difference between draw and delete? So if we use draw table, entire table structure will be moved into database. Right? So look at this. For example, consider this is a table. So if you mention draw table, this entire box will be removed. Right? And if you mention delete table, then only this pens will be removed. Pens means here record. Right? If you look at that, delete marks is just deleting all the records in the table. But if I execute this, how do you know that how many tables we have in the system tables? Remember that? Look at that. There is no table called marks. There is no table called marks. Understood? Difference between draw and delete. I am going to create a single value. This is a table I am creating again, and I am setting some values. Just enter one value. Now you can see, let me see, I have a table called marks. And what are the details available in that table? Marks. Execute that. This is the one record value, right? Now what I will use? Truncate marks. Truncate marks. Truncate table marks. So now let's look at that. What is the name of the value? Here you can see student marks. One record is deleted. You have entered one record which is deleted. Okay. Now this is also deleted. It is the same as delete. Truncate is also similar to delete, but not exactly the same. There are some differences. Okay. The first thing is in delete you can use something called where clause. You can use something called where clause. We have not discussed that where clause. Okay, not worry about it. truncate table will give all the records. Truncate table, if you use truncate table any moment, it will remove all the records in your table. The 10 records or 100 records is one more record. So you deleted all the records. Right? In reality, if you want to remove a massive record, you will use truncate. Personally, I think last 7 to 10 years I used only one time truncate, only one time I used. Because you never want to delete all the records in reality. Unless you are mistaken in your records. That happened only one time. So truncate will never use that. Okay? But you should know that in interview they will ask you what is the difference between delete, truncate, drop. But now you know the answer. Drop means it will remove entire object from the only object is table. It will remove entire table. Delete. See, in the class you have 3 students. 1, 2, 3. Right? If we mention drop, that is entire class will be removed. Class itself. Right? That is object itself. Now if we use delete, either we can delete 1, 2, 3. All 3 members, but class will be there. Right? Or we can delete only specifically delete where name is 1. That means you are deleting only this one. Right? In truncate, you don't have any option to choose a specific person here. It will remove all 3 records, not the object, not the table. Right? Clear? Right? I'll ask you this again. Right? Because delete, truncate, drop. It's very important. If you are writing any interview, that is one of the very frequent. Okay? table will be there. But we Delete is different. Now let me enter again this phone record. Phone of the record. Look at that. Delete marks where student name is equal to location. Look at that. Delete statement. What I have done? I have removed all the records. Only one record, the name of location. That's possible to delete command. That's not possible with truncate. We cannot use this clause to truncate. Right? So now you know the differences. Drop means you are moving all the records and their objects itself. You are moving that. Do not use drop unless it is very medium in reality. Of course, you will not get access to drop. Now deleting. Now here you can see. If I mention just delete mark, what happens? What happens? It will remove. It will remove all the records. Why it will remove all the records? Because you have not mentioned that out of 3 records, what records are you to delete? You have not mentioned that. So system will understand, okay, this person wants to delete all the records. Right? Okay. Delete. Okay. Clear so far? Any questions? implicit transactions, which is rollback, coming, right? These practice that rollback and coming assumption is what we do, right? Not right now, off the cuff. And we have discussed syntax to create the table. Syntax to create the table. Look at that, create table name. Now I am going to create one more table, guys. I am going to create one more table. Create example 1. That's my table. Okay, I just create dx1. You can do for anything. I open parenthesis. Now I'll do something called std name care of 20. Right? So char is a string data type. What exactly happens is it can save up to 20 characters. It can save up to 20 characters. If I give only 2, then it will save only 2 characters. Right? So char is a string data type. Right? Now we understand. So if I mention char 10, let me take 5. So we can hold 5 characters. It is clear. We can hold 5 characters maximum. But can I enter 3 characters? Something like this. 1, 2, 3, 4. So if I now 1, 2, 3, 4 characters, I can enter 3 up to here. Right? It will accept. But the problem is when you use char, even if you have entered these 3, these 2 will also be occupied in your server. The space. It is padded with space. That is what you have entered char file. Right? That means you have mentioned to the SQL server that I am going to enter maximum 5 characters in this specific column. Right? But you have entered 3 characters. The remaining 2 are empty there. In reality, what exactly happens is these 2 will be padded with spaces. And the spaces also will save the characters. There is extra waste of space in your server. Right? But now, instead of char, what is this? Var. Var is variable character. It's a variable character. Now what exactly happens is I mentioned varchar file, right? So I can use 3, 1, 2, 4, 5, but I cannot use 6. Right? But now onwards I am using varchar. Why I am using varchar? Why not char? If you use char, right? Extra space in the database. Of course, now I don't have any space constraint because my server is sitting in my local. But in reality, you won't sit in your server in local. Right? If you use the cloud, every single byte also very important. Right? Please use varchar, not char. Right? Unless you have a specific requirement. You never use char. Right? So what happens with char? Even you have mentioned that 5 characters I am going to insert. You have option to do 3. So, what exactly option is? For example, if you go in details of the movie, 5 of your friends. Out of 5, 2 members have gone away in the last minute. So, you have option to cancel. Don't do this one. You cannot cancel. Char. Right? Once you have mentioned 5, it is 5 you have to see. But when it is varchar, we have an option. Even if you go to 5, you can use only 2. The remaining 2 is available still. Right? That's the difference between char and varchar. Now, one of the constraints I am starting using right now is null. This is the new one for you. I am using null. called not null. Here I mean something called not null. That means what I am mentioning to SQL Server that student name must be should contain some value. Student name should not be the null. Student name should not be the null. Age. I am using any int. Okay. So any int. Last time what I used integer. Integer. It is also one of the data type. Right? So I don't remember 2 bytes of space. But whereas an integer will occupy 8 bytes of space. You know what I mean bytes? You know what I mean bytes? Space. You know 1 bit. Sorry, I am using very technical level. You know 1 0 1 0 1 0 1 0 1 0 1 0. Binary language. System can understand only binary language, right? So whatever we are discussing is all are converted into the binary language. You know the binary system? We know well and good. We know how to try search to Google. It's very important. If you want to be technical fit, you should understand how the binary units work. Okay, I am not going to discuss about that as a different class. So any int is going to accept only up to 120. Up to 120. Okay. Sorry, take me about that. Some of the data will accept up to 120. Some of the data will accept up to 255. Okay, if you use key, okay, the SQL Server I don't remember, let's say 95. Okay, so age, I am using null. I am using null. And gender. For gender, what I am using? Var 1. I am going to use mf. Only one character. Okay? Is it? Alright. Now you can see. We have created a table. Example 1 as a table name. Student name is column name 1. And var is data 1 and not null. That means in this column you cannot skip the student name. That is, without student name you cannot enter the record. Right? This is the constraint. Let me execute this. Let me execute this. Command completed successfully. Now let me see. How do we see that how many records in my table? Select. Start from EX1. Do we have the records? After this one, you will just know this. So let's look at that. I am going to insert into value. What is the student name? Lavanya, age 20, gender female. Why execute the statement if there is an answer? Is that going to accept or not? No. It is going to be inserted in my table or not? If no, then why? Lavanya is not binary, right? Okay. Let us start from Lavanya. Oh, Lavanya is not power. I'm changing to power. Now let me do. So let me see. Is that going to inject the statement?